Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In the last session, we talked about single case studies. Today, we are going to talk about another person focused approach of resilience. In this approach, scientists study larger groups of people who are resilient. The first step is to identify a group of children who are at risk. This risk can be due to any reason, like family violence, natural disaster, or anything else. Whatever the risk factor is, a risk group is identified. This group is then subdivided into two different groups. One group is doing well on a criterion of interest, and the other group is not doing well on a criterion of interest. So the first group forms the resilient group, and the second group forms the maladaptive group. Let us go through an example to understand this. Suppose a risk group has been identified and the risk factor was socio-economic disadvantage. Now we are dividing the group into two subgroups on a criterion of interest, that is attendance in school. There is the first group which has children having regular attendance in school, and there is the second group which has children who do not attend school regularly. So the former group forms the resilient group while the latter one forms the maladaptive group. And then these two groups can be compared to see what are the factors in which both the groups differ from each other, and thus which factors make the first group resilient while the second group vulnerable or maladaptive. There is a famous longitudinal study conducted by Emmy Warner and Ruth Smith, the Cowhigh longitudinal study, which is a significant example of a large group person focused model of resilience. Kauai is a small town in Hawaii. The study began in 1955 when a high risk group of children was identified according to multiple risk indicators that were present before the age of 2 years. These risk indicators were perinatal stress, chronic poverty, parental psychopathology, and a family environment troubled by chronic discord. Then the outcomes of these children, like how well were they doing on developmental and other health markers at around ages 10 and 18, were examined to identify subgroups of resilient and maladaptive children. When both the subgroups were identified, resilient children could then be compared with their peers in the maladaptive groups to ascertain the factors which are contributing towards resilience. Since it was a longitudinal study, the researchers checked in with the study participants regularly until they reached the age of 40 years. Results indicated that there were many factors which favored the resilient groups, and some of them were good reasoning ability, sociability, quality of care in infancy, emotional support from family, emotional support from outside the family, and much more. These elements present in the resilient subgroup are the protective factors. Warner and Smith also concluded from the study that although an innate capacity for resiliency helps in the time of adversity, it is never too late to develop or enhance protective factors to bounce back from adversity. Although the Cowhigh longitudinal study is of paramount importance in the history of resilience research, there are a few limitations. It was suggested that the resilient subgroup actually has been exposed to lower levels of risk factors than those in the maladaptive group. With this, we are going to end our session today. Next time, we will be beginning with the final approach of person-focused model of resilience. Thank you and have a nice day.